Good day, good morning, or good evening, good whatever time it is when you are entering this space, this portal. Awesome. So we might have a few more people joining in soon, and if so, wonderful. They are more than welcome. And for those of you who are here at the moment, hello, I'm so happy to see some faces and to see some names on this screen that I recognize and hold very dearly to my heart. Let's take a moment and just really anchor in here. So this space, this masterclass, is a space that I really intend to hold in safety, in openness, and in engagement. So please know that if at any point questions are coming up, or there's any anecdotes or breakthroughs or just shares that you wanted to let us know about, I love that. So in human design, I'm a generator. I thrive when I have something to respond to. So when you're engaging in the chat box, it means the world to me, and it really allows me to have something to respond to in exchange. And also, I am always here for questions. So if anything's coming up at any point, please know that you're more than welcome to send them in there, and I would be happy to answer them. And so let's just take one moment to breathe nice and deeply together in through the nose. Fill your belly. And on the exhale, you can let that breath go. Let's do one more together. Inhale. And release that breath. Awesome. I always think it's really important and juicy to sort of slow it down. I know that we're all coming from somewhere today. I've had my own full day and it's been kind of crazy. And so coming into this space, that breath, that coherence of heart was just as much for me as it is for everyone here. So welcome. I am really, really, really excited to teach this because nutrition is my world. And honestly, we don't give enough props to this massive word, nutrition. It's like we only give it a fraction of the attention and a fraction of the meaning that it really truly deserves. So in this space today, what I'm really hoping to do is to redefine that entire word for you and hopefully change your paradigm in some way when it comes to your nutrition and your health. So I just want to say, like, if at any point you want to take a little video, you want to do a picture, I would love if you do that. I love when you tag me in there so that I can celebrate with you and share. Of course, no pressure ever. This is always just an invitation. And I'm going to start today by just sharing a little bit about my story and why we're even here. I used to get really, really excited about splurging, right, on like a Wendy's burger with a chocolate frosty and fries. And that was something that was so exciting to me during a time in my life when I was 60 pounds heavier than I am now. I was covered in eczema all over my body. I had really bad periods, like super irregular menstrual cycles. I was just not in a good space, hormonally speaking, like mood swings, out of control, cramps to the point where I was debilitated for 2 days. It was really, really awful. And then, of course, my digestive system was just not happy. It was not functioning. I had really irregular bowel movements. And honestly, I would literally go days without having a bowel movement, and that was normal. And more than anything, what I want to really emphasize here is that I normalized all of these things because I didn't know a better way. All I knew at that point was you eat the food, and at some point in time, it comes out. And I didn't think much more about it. And on top of this, I felt so uncomfortable in my skin. I felt like I was this being that was inhabiting a body that was not actually meant for me. I felt like my body was betraying me, like it was failing me. I would look in the mirror and I just hated what I saw. And there was so much negative self-talk to go along with it. So I'm sharing this because I really celebrate how far we've been able to come through this type of work. So my reality now is very different, right? Now it's like, not only do I get to teach this for a living to other people, my own world, my own health has taken a massive, massive turn in what I think is the best direction. I've lost weight and kept it off sustainably. It's been more than 10 years. That was 20, yeah, more than 10 years at this point, I think closer to 12 years. I was able to completely clear up my eczema. I've never had another spout of eczema on my skin. I've never been sick to the point where I ended up in the hospital again, which did happen at one point. My periods super regular, like bowels, digestion, everything regular and feeling really, really good. And something that someone had shared with me once was like, if we're thinking about our health, something is wrong. And I really liked that because it's like, if I'm thinking about like, oh, have I gone to the bathroom today? Like, ooh, that really doesn't feel good. Should I be eating that? My skin is breaking out. Like if we're thinking about it and it's on our mind, it's a really big sign that maybe something is off. What we're really, really striving for in life, I believe, is a feeling of ease, a feeling of just like, oh, yeah, everything's functioning properly. Everything feels really great. We have a really great demeanor. We're looking in the mirror. We're loving what we see. We're feeling good in our body. We have mobility and ability as well. So I always like to begin these calls with an intention, because I think that intention setting is very, very important. So as I'm opening up this space, I want to really emphasize that I'm here to support you in redefining what nutrition means so that you can find a sense of freedom in your body, freedom from the inner narrative, freedom from stress, freedom from worry, freedom from thinking about what your next meal is going to be and how that meal is going to affect you. And am I going to be able to say yes to plans after I eat that meal, or is it going to totally ruin my day? Right? I want you to feel like you are able to access the full potential of your body's abilities and also fall in love with yourself in an even more deep type of way. Now, I know most of you, and even those of you who are watching the replay later, I attract a very specific type of person into my world, the type of person who is already very growth oriented, the type of person who's already doing a lot of inner work and a lot of work on themselves. They eat really well, they take care of themselves. So my guess is that you're here because you want to level up a little bit and maybe have a new shift in paradigm. And so for that, I'm very, very curious to know, like, what does, and you can type this in the chat box, what does nutrition mean to you when you hear that word? Or another prompt for you might even be like, what invited you? What made you feel inclined to come into this space today? What were you the most excited to learn, or your intentions? And if you're new to my master classes, I'm a very engaging type of teacher. I really like to know who's here with me so that I can make sure that this is tailored, right? So Rafa says, nutrition is what I eat and process. I love that. Yes. Emphasis on the process. Honestly, I eat like shit. Okay. Emoji. I feel you. And you know what? That's okay. That's okay. The fact that you're here shows that you've got a very you're wanting something different. And I think that that's really beautiful. Emphasis on the and when we're talking about eat and process. I want to be able to eat intuitively and feel good when I eat. Yes. Oh, oh yes. Snaps. Right. Always wanting to learn more approaches and perspectives with nutrition. Yes, beautiful. Awesome. Okay. Thank you for the shares. I love this. And, in particular, when we're talking about what we're eating, when we're talking about intuitive eating, being able to feel good, knowing that you're eating, that's going to be a huge focus of today. So let's get into it. I want to just start by painting a picture, right? I want to start by painting a vision. So I'm going to invite you, if it feels good to close your eyes, if you prefer to read, do you boo-boo, like it's all good. But I want you to imagine for a moment this world where your digestion is something that you just don't even think about, right? It feels good when you eat. You know you're going to feel good. You feel light and energized. You have regular bowel movements with an excellent consistency, at least one time a day, every day. You can spot illness from a mile away, way before it manifests, right? The moment that there's even a hint of something that's about to manifest, whether that's like a, throat thing or a digestive issue, you can spot it and you know how to rebalance. Your detox organs are functioning optimally. So this means your lungs, right? Your skin is your largest detox organ. So anytime that we're having breakouts, acne, eczema, dermatitis, rosacea, like anything with our skin, is when we're having a symptom. So your largest detox organ, your lungs are feeling good, your digestive system, your urinary tract and system. Imagine a world where you're waking up feeling really energized, right? No grogginess. You wake up, you don't feel like you need coffee. You're just like ready. You have this desire to move your body, this desire to do something really, really nourishing for you. There's no inflammation, right? Your joints, your belly, your body, you all feel like a well-oiled machine. Your boundaries, energetic boundaries are just on fleek, right? Like you know when something is for you or when it's not for you, and you're willing and able to set that boundary, whether it be with other people or even with yourself, right? When I'm talking about with yourself, that might be like if you're a binge eater or an emotional eater, knowing that boundary with yourself where it's like, hey, no, I know exactly what I need to do for myself right now. And when we're talking energetically, being able to take radical responsibility for everything that is created in your life, right? When we recognize ourselves as the creatrix of everything, our physical manifestation of our environment, the people around us, whether they are supportive or very unsupportive of our wellness patterns and habits and nutrition, right? We've all known someone who's like, oh, come on, you can have a piece of the cake. Come on, just do it. Like you're always guided, whatever it is. And if we are surrounding ourselves with people who don't support us, we want to take radical responsibility for that energetically as well. Your hormones on fleek as well, right? Imagine this world where you just have regular menses, regular feeling all of the time. You're not dreading coming up on your period. You're not like feeling really angry and like you're going to attack anyone who says even the littlest thing to you the week before. When you do actually start your period, you're feeling really good. You're not bloating. You're not having tons of cramps. It's just something that's a part of who you are. Your skin glowing and you're getting regular comments on your skin. People being like, damn girl, like you look like you are so fresh and well rested. Imagine a world where your mind, you have a generally positive demeanor. Now there's this term floating around like toxic positivity, and I get that. And it's not to say that you wake up and you're joyful and happy and excited every single day. I don't think that that's actually a healthy thing. It's about a generally positive demeanor. So even when we are triggered or activated, when we're, having a rough time, when everything seems to be going wrong, right? It's like, okay, I can feel this. I can be present with it. I'm able to recognize what's going on. And you know what? I'm going to do the inner work. I'm going to process what needs to be processed. And I'm going to come out of this grown. I'm going to come out of this seeing the lesson. You are in this world, right, where you recognize any patterns of dissociation that you might have. So the most common one, right, doom scrolling. When we are out of association with our mind, we tend to try and disassociate. More often than not, that looks like doom scrolling, binging Netflix. It could be binging people, right? Just like not spending any time alone because we constantly need to fill our schedule with other people's energy so that we don't have to sit alone with ourselves. Recognizing when the monkey mind is going off the rails. So anytime that we're just like going into those anxiety patterns, imagine a world where that was something you could recognize when it's happening and you had the tools to bring yourself back into a centered space. Your emotions like overwhelm, depression, anxiety are viewed more as teachers, right? They're happening for you and not to you. And looking in the mirror and seeing your best friend, not looking in the mirror and feeling disappointed or hurt or upset with yourself, right? We look at the mirror and we're like, you know what? Yeah, she's a queen. And finally, imagine this world where you desire to eat healthy foods that are home cooked. You desire to spend some time preparing your meals. You desire to invest in organic foods. You desire to maybe even start growing some of your own ingredients rather than having highly processed foods that are convenient and delivered, and sometimes dead food as well, right? Like totally cooked to the point where there's no nutrients left. You don't experience hunger. You know that when you're getting hungry, you can keep cool, calm, and collected because your blood sugar levels are regular, because you know that your body is actually doing some really healthy healing work. And finally, you know that your portion sizes are on point. This is a really, really healthy one for us to know, right? It's going to look different for everyone. It's not like 1,400 calories is perfect for the average 30-year-old woman. That's just outdated advice, right? Instead, it's knowing how we want to feel after eating a meal. We want to feel light, we want to feel energized, and we want to feel like we don't crave for anything more. So if you finish a meal and you're like, God, I could just eat like a bowl of ice cream. God, I could just eat another 12 of those. Like, I feel like I'm not satiated. That's what we want to look to avoid. So all in all, this is the vision that we're really calling in, right? Digestion on fleek, energy strong, boundaries strong, hormones balanced, skin glowing, mind neutral. And by neutral, we're meant to have fluctuations. That's part of the human experience, but able to come back into a centered space. And diet, something that is wholesome and nourishing in every way imaginable. Now, for a moment, let's consider everything that we culturally have normalized. We have normalized way too many crazy things in our culture, right? We normalize so many different symptoms of disease. And I very intentionally separate the word dis from ease, right? Disease, very often we think like cancer, we think autoimmune disorders, we think of all these really big ones. But what about all of the diseases that are normal, right? Mental health imbalances, hormonal imbalances, burnout is a form of disease, any sort of digestive issue, whether that's reflux, whether that's, having a lot of acidity, whether that's bloating, gas, constipation, diarrhea, all of that. Anytime that we are needing to take medication on a regular basis. And I'm going to offer a couple of disclaimers in here. I am not against conventional medicine. I'm not against medication. I am not against that in any kind of way. I do think, however, that we tend to lean so quickly into the allopathic medicine that we forget that we have some power to prevent some of the disease before they get so bad. Even surgeries, right? When I was in the hospital 10 years ago at this point, they kept telling me I should take out my tonsils. I had an abscess the size of a golf ball on my tonsil because I had let my strep throat that I used to get regularly go a little bit too far, turned into an abscess. And the doctor had said, oh, you know what? Once you're out of here, once you're off your antibiotics and you've healed, we'll just remove your tonsils to prevent that from happening again. Like, whoa, hold up a sec. You're talking about removing a part of my body so that I don't end up getting sick like this again. You're not talking about nutrition. You're not talking about anything. You're literally just saying, let's just remove the problem. That was so extreme to me, far more extreme than going plant-based, far more extreme than choosing to do only organic, far more extreme than doing cleanses. Like, we want to shift the paradigm that, like, what is extreme, right? Medication, surgeries, those are extreme, and those should be saved for extreme measures when it's absolutely necessary. So some other things we've totally normalized that it's very strange that we've normalized, and I really want to point this out. It's like highly processed foods, totally normal. Sugar in absolutely everything, including children's toothpaste, normal. The accessibility of high processed foods, right? We look at how inexpensive it is to go to McDonald's, how inexpensive it is to grab a bag of chips versus the price of organic greens. There's a huge imbalance there. And yes, it's systemic. Again, it's not anyone's fault, right? It's about pointing out these aspects. We've also normalized a lot of toxins and chemicals in our household products, from skincare products to the sprays that we use to clean our homes. We have other options, right? But we normalize. We see advertisements for Windex and for all of these things that we just inhale, right? Lungs are the detox organ. Those are getting absorbed into our bloodstream. They're absolutely affecting how we digest food, and they're affecting the other layers of the self. And we've also normalized, especially in today's day and age, dissociation. We are normalizing bypassing our body's natural cues for rest, right? How many of us work in a job where we don't really get to choose our hours, right? You show up, your boss says, I need to do this, this, and this. You're supposed to show up for 40 hours a week, which sometimes might be 50 or 60 hours a week, and it's expected. You get one 30 to 60-minute break at a specific set time. It doesn't matter if you were hungry or tired before. It doesn't matter if you feel like you need another break later, right? We're just taught to, okay, that's just what it is. My body says one thing, but my mind and my boss say something else. And the dissociation, oh my goodness, like these devices, right, are tools that just completely remove us from the present moment. They're wonderful, and I love technology, and I'm so grateful because, hey, we're doing this call right now through technology. That wouldn't be possible otherwise without that phone. But we want to bring consciousness into the equation. So this is where we really want to take a look at what's the difference between allopathic medicine and holistic medicine. And I very intentionally did not say allopathic versus holistic, because I don't think that there's a world where we only have one and not the other. I am so grateful that somebody invented soap. I'm so grateful for antibiotics. I'm so grateful for surgeons being able to do surgery when you cut off your arm, right? Like, these things are wonderful. And allopathic medicine serves a very specific purpose for acute illness and injury. Whereas holistic, AKA preventative medicine, right? It serves so much purpose when we're talking about chronic illness, and also when we're talking about preventing illness, especially when we are predisposed to things like heart disease, to certain hormonal, whatever, autoimmune disorders, any kind of things that we're predisposed to by our family, holistic medicine really, really serves that purpose. So this brings me to the point, like, what is holistic? We hear this word thrown around, and I think that we all have a very different opinion on what holisticism means. What really served me was entering into the world of yoga. And in yoga, we have what are called the koshas. So each of these koshas, right? A kosha is essentially a sheath or like a version of our body. And in yoga, we have 5 bodies. The first body is our most dense layer. This is the one that we are familiar with. We see it, we can touch it. I can see you, right? We know that the body digests. We know that the body chews things. We know that the body eliminates. We know that the body does this, this, and this. So the physical body, the most dense layer, is sort of where allopathic medicine stops, right? Of course, we have psychologists who work with the mental body. We have people who support us in other ways. But for the most part, it's like, oh, your elbow hurts. Let's take you to an elbow specialist. It's like we separate the elbow from the rest of the body. Or, oh, your gallbladder, let's send you to a gallbladder specialist, and they're just going to focus on that one organ rather than focusing on what are all of the other contributing factors that supported or that contributed to that organ, to that body part coming out of balance. I know that we've got an osteopath on the call right now, and no one knows better than osteos, right? Like, you could stub your toe and end up with a shoulder problem. That's just what it is. So what purpose does it serve when we go and try and treat the symptom rather than getting down to the root? So what Annamaya Kosha teaches us is that this is one of our bodies, and we're all very familiar with symptoms we can have in our physical body. But what about the other bodies, right? So the next one is called Pranamaya Kosha. And Pranamaya Kosha is our energy body. This is, you can call it aura, you can call it your energy body. This is essentially the body where all life force energy flows through and around and in. This is what connects us to other people on that energetic wave, right? When we walk into a room and we feel something's really on or feel something's a little off. The energy body, the prana body, is also our breath. It's a huge way that we experience life. Then we also have Manomaya Kosha. And Manomaya Kosha is our mental body. This is a lot more to do with the I, the self, our ego, right? So Manomaya Kosha tends to be where a lot of our patterned thoughts come in, where our judgments come in, particularly around ourself, right? Vijnanamaya Kosha is the intuitive body, and this is a little bit different. It's more of the wisdom, the higher thought, the space where the soul resides, if you will, the seat of the soul. And then we also have Anandamaya Kosha, the bliss body. So when we think about these in a holistic term, right, it's like, great, let's say that my physical body is having an imbalance in some way. There is a chance that it's because of something physical. Maybe my food is not the right food. I'm eating something that's causing a breakout of acne. Maybe it's, something that I put on my skin was causing a rash, right? Maybe it's something that I inhaled. All the pollution from the cars here in Mumbai, for instance, was creating an issue in the physical body, in Annamaya Kosha. That is where a lot of us stop, right? We remove the thing, we remove the pollution, we remove the food, and then we're like, the body feels better. Great. But what happens when we let it go on too long? Suddenly it can become, okay, my physical body, my throat's starting to flare up from all the cars and the pollution. Now I'm having troubles breathing. So my pranic body, my energy body becomes clogged. What happens when we're clogged up energetically and physically? Suddenly I'm just feeling a little depressed. I'm feeling sad. I'm feeling low because like I don't have the energy that I would have loved to have to say yes to going on this hike with a friend. I don't feel like I can do that because I don't want to use my cardiovascular system. So that makes me feel sad. Monomaya kosha gets clogged. And then inevitably, we're going to lose our connection, right? Or sever. I'm not going to say we can lose it because everything is reparable. We never really lose our connection to our intuition. But when we're clogged in these other, like these first three bodies, it clogs our connection to our intuition, right? Suddenly we're wondering, should I have said yes to that thing? Is that person genuine? What about this? What about that, right? We start to question ourselves and we don't trust ourselves as deeply. And this is again where we sever our connection to divine, to divinity, to the bliss, to Ananda, that space of no thingness, right? And this is what all yogis are always trying to say, like, let's get to this space of complete bliss. We're not stressed, we're not worried, we're not thinking, where our bodies are clear channels, pathways where we can simply be with divine. So this is one way to look at holisticism. And I hope that this supports you. So I'd love to know, I'm just going to check in because I can talk forever about all this stuff. But let me know in the chat box, like, is this landing? Does this make sense? Is this a concept you've heard before? Do you have questions? And I'll just wait a moment until I hear back. The layers that make us. 100%. And I feel like the moment that I learned this, it was more of a remembering, right? It was like, oh yeah, of course, like of course we're more. And I know that again, because of the people who I attract in my world, we know this. We know we are more than this physical meat sack, right? And yet sometimes it's so supportive to have a language to go along with all of this. Wonderful, makes so much sense. Good, good, good. It's great food for thought. It makes me realize that if we don't know how to fix one layer, we can start with another one of them to help. Knowing the difference between the physical and the breathing. Yeah, and the terminologies. Language is so powerful, right? It's like when it's, and again, more than anything, like if you're remembering this, that's what we're going for. And, there was something said there. It's like, this is great food for thought. It makes me realize if we don't know how to fix one layer, we can't start with another one. This is really important. And for those of you who've ever been to body work or healers, right? I'm sure you've been to a healer or to a massage therapist or maybe a Reiki healer, like something where they're working with you. And maybe it's literally with the physical body. And either they are seeing colors or having visions, or they're like, I just feel like I need to tell you this, right? They're tapped into one of your other bodies. And sometimes that can happen for us too. And something that I'm going to impart with you, I'm just feeling the need to share this right now. Let's say you go for a massage, right? Remember to be an active participant in that healing process. We can't trust our healing over to another person. We have to take radical responsibility for our own healing. So something that I've started doing many years ago, I started this. I had a really wonderful massage therapist who was also a great teacher of mine. And it was like, be an active participant. I would sit there, I was silent, right? I'm lying on the table. And as she's working with my body, and she's having these moments where she's pausing on a certain area, and suddenly I'm flooded with memories. Sometimes it's color, sometimes it's vision, right? We want to trust those moments. We want to breathe into them, right? Someone is working on our Annamaya kosha, on our physical body. We are working with Pranamaya kosha. We're breathing, we're moving energy, we're moving life force. And sometimes that can bring up feelings, that can bring up thoughts, that can bring up first judgments, right? Sometimes it's like, I wonder if this is real. I wonder what this is about. Like, we try to label everything. That's Manamaya kosha. And once we go, interesting, thank you. Interesting, thank you. When we let Manamaya kosha clear, we start to move into the intuitive body. And it's like, I don't know why, but I just had this vision, or I just had this feeling, or I just had this random memory from when I was 5 years old living in Souk, like that is when we start to tap into these other bodies. And the more that we allow that healing to happen rather than judging it and shutting it down and being like, no, that can't be real. No, that's not true. No, 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 no. the more we allow for that to happen, that's when real healing happens. A friend of mine just shared a story the other day where she was doing some therapy on herself and was able to like actually had some tests done, and one of the masses in her uterus, I believe it was a cyst, like completely dissipated in one way. And I'm not saying that this is the case all of the time. I'm not saying that it's like, but the fact is we are so much more than this physical body. Physical manifestation is the very last thing to happen. More often than not, our ailment, our illness is going to start in one of these more ethereal bodies. So we really want to start to create that connection between the physical body and all of the other bodies. And they can intersect, they can crisscross, right? Crisscross applesauce. So moving on. Thank you for the engagement, fam. So nutrition, right? This is what we're here for. How do we redefine nutrition? So nutrition is your most powerful self-healing tool, in my opinion. It is your most powerful tool for regulating yourself holistically and to ultimately experience freedom. And the word that we use in yoga is moksha, which means liberation. And again, freedom is going to mean something different for every single person on this call. It might mean freedom from thinking about your next meal, freedom from stressing about how your body feels after eating something that maybe wasn't good for you, freedom from the emotional pain and suffering that we can sometimes manifest through relationships in our lives. And for some of us, that might even mean freedom from all of the worldly stuff so that we can be in that Anandamaya Kosha. And a little thing that I'm just going to share, of course, I'm not saying that we're all supposed to be, like monks sitting in a Tibetan cave somewhere, just totally in some other world. I don't really believe that. I think that we're here in the 3D realm human experience. And I think that a part of that human experience is to tap into these no-thingness spaces. So something that I would love to share as a way to reframe nutrition, right? Symptoms are how your body communicates with you. Nutrition is how you communicate with your body. I'm going to say that again. I think it's very, very powerful. Symptoms are how your body is going to communicate with you, and nutrition is how you communicate with your body. When we think of nutrition in this way, right? If we think of all of the symptoms that we might experience, whether that's body, mind, or spiritual symptoms, emotional symptoms, whatever it is, anytime there's imbalance, anytime there's something that is lacking ease in our lives and in our body, that is your body trying to communicate, hey, something's out of whack, please help, right? And so how do we communicate with our body? We can physically talk to her. We can say, hey, I hear you. Thank you. What do you need? We can ask questions. We can get reflective. And also, we can nourish her based on what she's asking for. I check the chat. Ooh, I love that communication thing. Cool. Thank you. I love it too. Rafa says, vice versa, working on bettering the mental health and feeling the physical knots relax too, or being able to just digest better when super stressed. My digestion always gets out of whack when I'm stressed. Oh, that's too real. Feeling that. Yeah, there's a huge connection. And like, in Ayurveda, the big saying in Ayurveda is that digestion is the core of health. And Ayurveda recognizes that our body and our mind are inextricably connected, right? When one is out of whack, the other is out of whack. And there's even a quote, and I'm going to paraphrase here. It's like, if you want to know how your mind will be tomorrow, pay attention to how your digestion is today. And that's such a powerful thing to say. If you want to know what your mind is going to be like tomorrow, pay attention to your digestion today. There's a huge correlation between feeling constipated and feeling anxious, right? Feeling a lot of like heatedness and anger, and then diarrhea, slow metabolism and lethargy, right? There's so much connection with these things. So if you want to predict your mental health state tomorrow, what's going on in your physical body today? Thank you for that share. All right, So this is just like another way to look at the koshas, right? We have like the Annamaya kosha, which is the outer, like most physical, dense layer, and then moving towards Anandamaya kosha, the bliss body from there. And Atman is like the word for that peacefulness, that bliss state, right? That's the state that we strive for in meditation. Again, not always. We're still here to party, have a good time, hang out with friends, connect, love, do all the things, eat good food, and also have spiritual connection. So this is one way that I would love for us to also think about the holistic way to nourish oneself, right? You might be wondering, like, how do I know if I'm having a symptom? And how do I know what symptom is connected to which kosha? So we're going to start down here in Anandamaya kosha. And don't worry, I'm actually going to send you the slides as well. So if you're trying to sit there and take notes, I got you, boo-boo. I'm going to send you these slides later, so you're going to have access to them if you prefer. So when we're talking of Anandamaya kosha, Annamaya kosha, the physical body, any kind of physical symptom at all in any area of your body, including your mental health, are considered dis-ease of Anandamaya kosha. That could be pain, inflammation, feeling lethargic and having poor digestion, fatigue. It could mean, just like anything that's going on physically, skin conditions. It could be your hormones. That is imbalance of Anandamaya kosha. So what we can think about when we're having those types of physical imbalance is like, first of all, what is my body actually trying to tell me right now? And we want to pay really close attention to what the body is actually saying, because more often than not, she's talking really, really loudly. We're just not usually listening. So something that we can get used to doing is literally saying, hey, what do you need? What do you need? Or what do you need less of? Especially when we're talking about food, specifically food. This is the most intimate topic. I would say more intimate than sex, because not only are we talking about what goes into us, we're talking about what becomes us. And something that I see time and time again in my work is people going, oh, no, I'm good. I can have coffee right before bed. It's not a problem. I've been drinking coffee for 20 years. I'm great. I can totally sleep just fine. And then in the same breath, their skin is breaking out. They're grinding their teeth. They're waking up feeling really groggy. They're grumpy. Like there's so many other things going on. And I'm like, are you sure? Same thing with gluten, right? And I'm not demonizing gluten. I eat gluten in moderation. I think that everything in moderation, right? But we have to be really mindful. Gluten is a big one. Sugar is a big one. Dairy is like one of the biggest ones. I can't believe how many people are like, no, I'm fine. I can totally digest dairy. And then they're having so many imbalances happen. And I'm just like, okay, because more often than not, we don't want to admit that something we genuinely love might actually be harmful. Pranamaya kosha. So as we start to move into the energy body, right? Some of the symptoms we might experience is shallow breathing. And every time I see or hear the word breath, I feel the need to, where is your breath? Is it up here? Is it down here? Anytime that we feel there's blockage, right, in the body, sometimes those blockages can feel like a physical thing. And like when we use the breath and really send it into that space, suddenly we feel an opening, a release. Inability to sit in stillness. Oh, wow. This is one of the biggest symptoms of people of today. This is one of the biggest symptoms of people of today. I had a comment once from somebody, I do Zoom meetings with some entrepreneur friends every couple of weeks. And when we first started those meetings, I had a couple of people say to me, are you still there? Oh, you're so still when you're listening. And I'm like, it was a funny comment to hear. Granted, I'm a yogi, like I practice stillness. It's something that I actually really, really value in my life. But it was such a shocking comment to hear that I sit very still, because it's true. We have this inability to sit still. It's like we feel better when we're shifting, when we're moving, when we're fidgeting, when we're touching something, when we're looking around, being shifty. That's a symptom, but we normalize it. The inability to identify how you or other people are showing up. Again, this is more of that energy ting, right? And also hyper or hypoactivity, hypo meaning low activity, hyper meaning hyperactivity. We are so accustomed to hearing people say, I have ADD, I have ADHD. And one thing I would like to impart here, because there may be someone listening to this who's like, yeah, I have ADD or I have ADHD, and I'm not telling you that's not real by any means. I just want to shut that down. Like, it is what it is. And also, what if we no longer identified by our diagnosis? Something that I learned very early on in my schooling was like, do not identify with diagnosis. That is something that can be really challenging because sometimes we build our identity off of these things. But what would happen if you, the being, right, the being who's inhabiting that body, you don't own anything. You don't even own this body. One day this body is going to die and decay and become the earth. But you are going to live on, and you does not have disease. So the moment that we disconnect ourselves from diagnoses and we change the language I was diagnosed with, and I no longer want that to be my story, right? Sometimes we don't have a choice. And like, again, disclaimers, because I'm full of them. I have a very scientific mind and also a very spiritual mind. I weave the two together, and this is just part of who I am. I think that science is important. I think that medicine is very important. And I do believe that it can be disempowering when we give our power to it. And so in all of this, right, like one of my family members, very dear, my dad, right, he's got some illnesses and he's been living with those and suffering with them, and it sucks, right? And something I really actively do is try not to give more power to those diagnoses. I don't know who that helps, right? And so this is me sharing with you, like when we are feeling imbalanced in our activity level, when we're feeling imbalanced in any kind of way, how do we remove ourselves from that thing and just be? And then finally, when we have troubles holding space for other people or are easily distracted, again, one of the biggest symptoms of our culture and our people today. How often does it happen when you are talking with somebody and they're like, oh my God, look over there, or they're on their phone? Guilty sometimes, right? And when it comes to space holding, I think we've all been in a situation where we, are trying to have a conversation with someone and suddenly it turns into them taking the space rather than holding it. These are, again, symptoms. The reason I'm going so in depth in these, by the way, is because I think it's really powerful to understand what symptoms mean. Because again, this is how we redefine nutrition. If we stop looking at nutrition as food and only food, and we start looking at nutrition as ways that we nourish our bodies, ways that we nourish ourselves, right? We can nourish ourselves with deep breaths. We can nourish ourselves with sitting in quiet silence, in contemplation. We can nourish ourselves by turning off notifications or putting our phone away in the evenings and just having some silence. So I'm going to move through the rest of these as well. Monomaya kosha, mental body. Remember, monomaya kosha is more the ego, the I. So when we're judging ourselves and we're judging others, this is a symptom of imbalance there. Sometimes the mind, when there's something imbalanced, right, is going to try to distract, take us off or out of traction, right? Distract, taking us off the track. And it's pointing us towards something else. Oh, look at that person. I can't believe they said this. Oh my God, let's gossip. Like there's all of that. Or just looking in the mirror and thinking like, God, I look so fat in this. Ugh, like my skin. That type of judgment is taking us away from the real thing that's going on from the root. It's a symptom. Difficulty communicating our needs, establishing healthy boundaries, allowing old paradigms to run the show, right? Any kind of bypassing, whatever kind of bypassing, whether we're emotionally bypassing, whether we're like just any type of bypassing of reality, of what really is, not sitting with what's real. And then getting stuck or lost in our stories, right? We allow our story of anything that's going on in our world, things that are even out of our control, right? Because I want to say, like, we're not always in control of everything that's going on in our external world. We do, however, have some power with how we respond to those things. We want to take that back. So one thing I will say is that like your pranamaya kosha and manamaya kosha, these two bodies are the bridge of outer world to inner world. How beautiful is that, right? This is how our inner world and our outer world connect. So we can understand just by knowing that how some of these symptoms can manifest in physical form, especially when we understand that our body, our subconscious mind, is always programmed in a specific way. And our subconscious mind is the one that manifests our reality. The more you think something awful about yourself, the more you identify with dis-ease, the more you identify with diagnoses, right? The more we're going to manifest it. That's just what it is. That's a law of the universe. That's not some hippie woo-woo shit. Like, that's a law, and it's rooted in quantum science. So when we understand that, it's like, oh shit, okay, let's do some excavation. Let's take some of those stories, stop identifying with them. And even something as simple as like, when I eat gluten, I feel terrible. Gluten doesn't sit with me. Yes, some people are celiac disease. That's absolutely a reality, right? Let's use something else in here, peanuts. And this is my own experience. I had to stop eating peanuts for 4 years because every time I would eat them, I would break out in acne. Every single time. Now, I way overdid peanuts back in the day. I ate so many peanuts. I would eat like a jar every single week of peanut butter. And it got to the point where when I would eat them, I would break out in acne. So I took 4 years off. I also took 2.5 years off of gluten. It's been years since I've eaten dairy. Like, a lot of these things I have removed because I wanted to change it and I wanted to change my story with them. So I'm sharing this because when we are really empowered and like, okay, I'm noticing that this thing that I'm putting into my body, this person in my life, this whatever work situation, this story is no longer serving me. What if I removed it, rewrote the story, and changed my relationship with that thing? Happy to report, by the way, I am back to eating peanuts and gluten. It's wonderful. So now let's get a little bit deeper, right? We're going into Vijnana Maya Kosha. This is our intuitive body. So when we experience symptom of the intuitive body, this is going to look a lot more like, remember, the Vijnana Maya Kosha is our intuition, our wisdom, is our higher thought. When we're feeling disconnected from that higher thought, oops, sorry, I'm just checking, there we go. We're always going to be seeking externally for more knowledge. We're never going to feel like we have enough internally. And that not enoughness is absolutely a symptom, right? We have everything we need. And this is why I keep using this word, remembering. Nothing that I say is gospel ever in any of my containers. And what I really want you to feel is that when you come into this world and when I'm sharing this knowledge with you, that you either take it or leave it. And this goes for anything that we're ingesting, right? Any information that we're ingesting, any food that we're ingesting, any ideas or ideals that we're ingesting. We take it or we leave it. If we take it, hopefully it's because we're having a remembering. And if we leave it, it's because, you know what, that doesn't serve me right now. That's okay. I'm going to let that go. And maybe it was a seed planted. Who knows? Who knows? And maybe not feeling a connection with intuition. This is very real. Unfortunately, our culture, as we know, right, has been sort of taken away from our intuition because feelings can't be trusted. That's old paradigm. New paradigm knows much better. And then finally, Anandamaya Kosha, our bliss body. Whenever we're feeling sad, lost, disconnected from higher power, source, God, universe, whatever terminology you prefer, that is a symptom of Anandamaya Kosha. The way that we come back to that is by looking at these other koshas, looking at these denser bodies, right? Our connection to our intuition and higher wisdom, our connection to our mental body and emotions, our connection to our vital life force energy, the pranic body, and finally the connection to our bodies. Right, I know this has been a lot. I'm going to take a moment once again to check in. Is this landing? And you can just give me like a little thumbs up or a yes or uh-huh or no or whatever it is, because I just want to make sure before we move on that this is a yes. Okay, great. Yes. Awesome. And welcome to the new faces who joined in recently. Hello, hello, hello. We've covered a lot of ground, so I hope that you'll come back and watch the beginning part of this later. Awesome. I'm glad this is landing. Wonderful. Yes, yes, yes. We'll explain. Hooray. So we're going to move forward. All right. So when we talk about disease, and I love disclaimers because I think that they're really important. When I'm speaking about disease, right, I am not saying that you should quit your medication, ditch your doctor, and start using herbs to heal something. I always, always, always empower you to use your discernment, right? Seek professional and customized support, particularly if you're concerned about any contraindications with your medication, right? If you're in need of a diagnosis. And please do not attempt to wean off any medication on your own. Like really, we're having a conversation. This is a very serious and real conversation, and I'm open for questions. So again, for those of you who are new, chat box is open. I love questions. And because I don't have your health history form in front of me, there's a lot of things I'm not going to be able to answer in specifics, right? So more broad questions about your health can be really supportive for others to learn about as well. I'm happy to answer those. But yeah, disclaimers, very important for me because I am not a doctor. I'm not here to diagnose or prescribe you. I am a holistic nutritionist, and I'm here to show you a way of holisticism so that you can understand yourself more deeply and find what is correct for you. And again, I don't poo-poo on allopathic medicine. I think it's beautiful. In Ayurveda, we have what are called the 6 stages of disease. And I didn't include it in here because it's a really big topic. And I actually talk about that inside of Holistica, my cleanse. But yeah, that the 6 stages of digestion, of disease rather, according to Ayurveda, we have the first 5 stages up until that 5th stage. We are able to ideally prevent, and if not, then reverse disease, right? We have like accumulation. We have aggravation. We have all of these stages where disease starts to create a really, really big ball. When we get into the 6th stage of that disease, that's when Ayurvedic medicine, when preventative medicine no longer works, and we want to send our clients or our patients to allopathic medicine. So again, revision here, allopathic medicine, really great for acute injury and illness. Holistic medicine is really, really wonderful for preventative and reversal of some disease. So there's my sexy little disclaimer. Let's move forward. When we're talking about diseases, I think it's really important to look at this in 3 major stages, right? So symptom, again, symptom is how your body is communicating to you. They are teachers. Every time we experience symptoms in one of those koshas, right? It is there to teach you something. Hey, something about your diet, something about your environment, something about your relationships, something about your relationship with your emotions is off. I'm going to show you a symptom to remind you of who the fuck you are. All symptoms, big or small, right? Whether that's like a rash on your hand or whether it's like an autoimmune condition, are communication pathways. And when we understand that, we take our power back. When we understand that, we stop giving our power into these diseases and saying, I'm helpless, it's genetic, I have no choice, whatever it is, right? And it's like, okay, radical responsibility, here we go. What am I going to do? Then we explore the root. Every root started as a seed. Every root started as a seed. So when we explore the root of where this is coming from, looking at the koshas, right? Looking at our design, even if we're looking at our Ayurvedic dosha, and even if we're looking at our human design, like we can use these tools to start to find the root. So an example that I'll give here for you, I was raised eating a lot of animal products, a lot of bread, a lot of processed foods. My parents were really good. I want to give them a lot of props because my parents were actually amazing. We had a garden. My mom made jam. She made like our home baked goods and stuff like that. So I'm really grateful that I had that type of upbringing. And we also ate a lot of meat. We ate a lot of dairy and we ate a lot of sugar and like wheat products, generally speaking. So that led me to becoming very, very sick. In fact, I was always sick. I don't remember when I wasn't sick. I was always really heavy and overweight. I always was really angry and depressed. A lot of these things I didn't even know were not normal until in my early 20s. So that was my story. And when I started to explore the root, right? So my story is a very long one. I'm not going to go into it, but basically I was in the hospital. I had an abscess on my tonsil the size of a golf ball. And this is when I started to explore mantra. I started to explore the chakra system, the Vishuddha chakra, the throat, expression. I realized I realized that growing up, I was a very loud child. I was very extroverted. I loved to sing. I loved to yell. And my mom was constantly, shh, Amy, shh, be quiet. Amy, shh, Amy, shh, Amy, shh, constantly shushing me. I wasn't allowed to sing at the dinner table. I wasn't allowed to speak too loudly inside. I wasn't allowed to, yell even outside. There was so much shushing, and then my mom would get headaches and stuff, and she was very like sensitive to noise. So more often than not, it was like, please just be quiet. Please don't talk right now. Shh, shh, shh. That was childhood trauma pent up, right? Minuscule T, right? Small trauma. I know there are much bigger traumas that can happen, but this was one of my traumas that had accumulated and literally manifested as an abscess on my tonsil. I wasn't able to swallow my own spit. I hadn't eaten for 5 days before I got to the hospital. It was another 4 days before I actually ate food. I was completely shut down. I was unable to express. And not only that, I was not expressing myself creatively. So this is one example of what it means to start to dive into the root. The more that I started to, I was like, fuck it. What do I have to lose right now? I'm in the hospital. I'm going to try looking into chakras. What does it mean to like focus on the color blue? What does it mean to use the mantra hum, 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 right? I started to do this healing. And then what started to bubble up was these memories of being shushed. All of these memories started to wash over me, things that I never even thought about because they were a normal part of my childhood, right? Every root has a seed. And we can get to where that root was by doing some of this inner healing, some of the healing that has to do with those more ethereal bodies we spoke about in the koshas. I wonder, and we don't have to dive into it, especially if you don't feel like sharing, but I do really wonder if this is bringing up any stories for you that might sound familiar. And if you do feel like sharing your story, I would love for you to give a little type in the chat box, but of course, no pressure ever. And then finally, what we want to move towards after that is the rebalance stage. Rebalancing is very much a moment to moment experience. You are always going to be a different person. You are different now from when you started this call, and you will be different in another 2 moments from now. And so what we really want to drive home and drill home when we're talking about nutrition as a whole is, how do I, in this moment, create a state of balance for my body? And I'm going to use another example, right? Like, let's say my low back is really hurting. I could be like, oh, yeah, I stand too much. I could find all of the reasons. Yeah, I was just slept in a funny position last night. And let me just tell you, as a yoga teacher, this is something I get a lot, right? Oh, my hips are really tight today. I don't know, maybe it's because I didn't walk enough this weekend. By the end of my yoga class, my client is crying. Tears of release, of relief, like, oh my God, I had no idea I needed to let some of that go. I had no idea I was holding on to this. This memory popped up from when I was 10 years old, 12 years old, whatever it was. This happens more often than you know. So when we are in a balanced state, it's looking at what is real right now. My low back, okay, a little bit painful. Maybe I did sleep in a funny position. Maybe I was standing all day or walking a lot. That's very, very real. And what happens when I actually turn my awareness and go, hey, where my mind goes, energy flows. Hey, low back, what's up? Interesting. What would feel good right now? Okay, a little bit of moving around, a little bit of wiggling, jiggling. Interesting. Oh, where does that start, that pain? Okay, it seems like it starts down a little bit lower in my left hamstring. Interesting. Okay, great. What would you need right now? Okay, you need me to just lie down quietly. No music, no phone, just lie there for a moment. And some beautiful things can happen. Maybe a memory comes up, maybe something else. And in those moments, this is where we start to get to the root. We want to see beyond the physical body. Anyways, I hope that this is again landing. Sometimes I go on these tangents and I'm like, am I making sense? Do I sound crazy? So here we are. Thank you for sticking with me. When I'm speaking, so I'm just going to go back. When I'm talking about the root, by the way, and I wanted to throw this in here in case anyone in this call is new to Ayurveda or human design, these are a big part of my world. They are languages. So between Ayurveda and yoga, they're sister sciences, right? One more focused on the body and mind, one more focused on the energy, on the prana. And human design is something I more recently discovered. And these worlds have given me not only language, but such a profound understanding of the individual who is in front of me. And I'm so grateful for them. So if you're new to my world, and if you're new to these worlds, part of what I do is I integrate these along with holistic nutrition, the actual science behind nutrition. And I like to integrate these worlds because I've seen very beautiful things happen. Very, very quick high level overview. In Ayurveda, we have what are called the doshas. We have 3 doshas, which are found in everything. Yes, they're found in your body, but they're also found in nature because we are an extension of nature. And Ayurveda basically teaches us how to digest effectively, digest food, digest conversations, digest everything that we experience in our day. It offers us guidelines and a language for eating according to our makeup and our constitution. It gives us specific rituals and techniques and practices according to how our body is expressing its form of health or illness right now. And there's even specific meditations and breath work and yoga practices that can help you to rebalance your dosha. So when I talk about rituals, right, in any form, this is really what I'm speaking about. Something I've noticed since being here in Mumbai is that my pitta is very high. I have a natural constitution of pitta kapha, but my environment, the season, the foods that I'm eating can all affect my dosha and bring me into a different state of balance. So my state of being here in a hot city, eating a lot of hot, spicy foods, my pitta, which is fire and water, gets really, really high. And what that can look like for me is having really hot digestive system, feeling really, really warm physically, sometimes not on me, but actually, I've seen it happen as well, like breaking out with rashes, right, is a really big one. Getting acid reflux can be some other symptoms. So the way that we mitigate these is by being like, in this moment, right, it's a moment-to-moment experience, I am having high pitta, which must mean I need to do the opposite. I need to cool my pitta. I need to consume more cooling foods, dill, coconut, avocado. I need to do more calming, cooling practices. I need to spend more time nurturing and softening and slowing down. And it's the same thing when we're having too much vata, right? Dry skin, brittle hair, brittle nails, dry lips. Sometimes our voice can get really raspy, like we're a little dehydrated, forgetting to eat and then getting really, really hungry at the end of the day and being like, shit, I need to eat. And then eating a lot of food, having constipation, gas. These are very much vata imbalance. Monkey mind, very vata as well. So what you want to do is the opposite, focus on grounding foods that are going to bring you more into your body, practices that bring you more into your body, dance, flow yoga, flowy breath, right? And for kapha, when kapha is too high, particularly in the winter, especially those of us in Canada or any of the colder countries, we go into a more kapha state, right? Kapha is like feeling really slow, feeling really lethargic and sleepy, and just like, I'm gonna eat some ice cream and some macaroni and cheese and just like that mood. It can also be a lot of like clinging energy. And that is where we want to do the opposite. We want to heat up. We want to warm up the digestive fire, the digestive system of kapha. We want to do more invigorating practices, like a more, Ashtanga style yoga or heavy lifting, eating more spiced foods. So that's what I mean when I'm speaking about your dosha and being in the moment with rituals, being in the moment with what is my body actually asking for right now? The symptom is a blessing. So Rafa says another language that allows knowledge, that allows empowerment. Thanks. Oh, well, you're welcome. So, excuse me, I'm gonna have some water. Me. All right. So then we look at human design, and what human design offers is a really beautiful way to understand our energy, as well as ways that we might have been conditioned by the energy of people who raised us, people who we went to school with, people who we watch on the television, right? all of the people in our lives condition us to be a certain way. So what the beautiful thing about human design offers is this way of looking at ourselves where it's like, oh, I've always thought that I really loved doing that thing, but it turns out I was just told that I really loved that when I was a child. What would happen if I let that go? It allows us to lean more deeply into what is energetically correct for us. Because when we are out of energetic alignment with ourselves, we experience resistance. We experience our bodies literally holding on to resistance, right? That can look like, for instance, I'm a generator, so I'm using myself because like I don't want to throw anyone under the bus or whatever, but like as a generator, as a child, I was always told like, oh, you should totally do this. You should totally do that, right? But you like these, go ahead, do it more. And so we start to receive this conditioning where it's like, oh, well, my mom loves when I do this. My teacher says I'm really good at that. I guess I'll just focus on that. And we get really good at doing things that we don't love. That is the most toxic poison for a generator or a manifesting generator. What we are here to do is to love what we do, because otherwise we start to experience resistance. And that resistance, right, for me, led to feeling disempowered, disconnected. It led me to wanting to overeat to the point where I would feel sick. It led me to gaining way too much weight, to having expression of symptom in my body, because I was so disconnected from my capital T truth. And it's the same thing with all of the different energy types, right? For projectors, very often they're not seen for their gift of being the guide for others. And that can be really, really challenging for them. For reflectors, not being put in the center of a society as the sort of reflection, the oracle. And then, of course, for manifestors, being told they're too much, too big, and like having their energy be dampened. These create resistance. And again, when we're talking about nutrition, holistically, we want to nourish our energy. We want to find what is energetically correct for us, as opposed to what someone else told me I was supposed to do. I learned through human design that, and I've tried intermittent fasting. I've tried like literally every single diet out there because I'm curious. I like to know these things. That's actually also written in my design, the curiosity. But I learned that I'm actually better with more consistency. And the moment that I learned this about myself, it allowed me to eat more intuitively in the sense where, and this is actually like, I've been a nutritionist for many years, okay? And I was eating intuitively, which was like, yeah, I think I'm just going to like wake up and sort of whatever, and that felt good, I thought. But when I started to really lean into, okay, my design says that I'm built for more consistency. My brain uses a lot of calories without me doing anything. Some people have more passive brains. I have a very active brain. The moment that I was like, okay, I'm going to lean into just trying this consistency thing, not just with food, but also with my plans that I make, right? Having more structure. When I have structure, I feel safe. My body digests better. I feel better. Like everything is just better. It's amazing. So this is what I mean by nutrition. How else can we nourish ourselves? With food? Yes, I can be more consistent. When I'm making plans, I can be more consistent, right? Finding ways to nourish ourselves in that way. So a couple of words you're going to hear me use a lot. Body wisdom. This is what it really comes down to, because at the end of the day, I can sit here and I can give you so much information, but until you embody this information and turn it into your own wisdom, until you learn to listen to the language that your body is speaking to you in, they're all going to speak to us differently. For some of us, it's visions. For some of us, it's physical, like words. For some of us, it's omens. For some of us, it's like just a knowing, right? When we really understand how our bodies are speaking to us, we become like unstoppable. We start to find so much synergy, so much intuition. It eradicates the need to seek someone else's, like way of doing things, someone else's methodology. And I threw like keto and juice fasting and sugar-free, gluten-free under the bus because these are things we hear all the time. I always giggle to myself when someone says, oh, I'm not eating carbs. And I'm like, why are carbs bad? Or I'm not eating fat. And I'm like, why are these things bad? We put these big fat labels on things. Like, that's bad. I should stay away from it. I shouldn't have that. And it's like, is that really truth? Do we really want that to be the truth? So when we tap into our body's wisdom, our innate wisdom, this is where we really become the masters. We eradicate the need to use supplements excessively. I bless my old roommate. She was wonderful, is wonderful. And she used to identify herself as a vitaholic. She had a cupboard full of vitamins. And I was like, girl, what the hell? Some of these are expired from years ago. Like, I've never, that's at the back of the cupboard. Did you even know you had it still? And like, she got into this habit of just buying a lot of vitamins all the time because she thought that she needed them for this, for that, for this, for that. And like, again, that's outsourcing. Does your body really need that? Are you able to get that from another source? Not only from another food, are you able to get whatever that mineral or nutrient or vitamin is promising you from something outside of food? Maybe your body is not even digesting the food and assimilating the nutrients from your food because you're emotionally blocked, right? And finally, it also keeps us from feeling disempowered when we're going back and forth between being like, oh, I'm so good, I'm doing this new, like New Year's, whatever it is, and then going back into falling off the wagon. And I always have to giggle at that because it's like the reason that we fall off the wagon is because we haven't found what was right for us. When we find what is actually right for us, there is no falling off the wagon. That doesn't exist anymore. It ceases to exist because it feels so damn good. We don't see another option. We don't see another choice. For me, plant-based living, I would never turn my back on that. It's not something that I'm like, oh, I miss cheese, I miss meat. Like I don't, because this is what's right for me and my body. Is it right for everybody? Is it right for you? I don't know. Only you know. So this is how you're going to naturally move towards more intuitively nourishing yourself, is by tapping into that wisdom. And a little focal point here for you, focus on ritualizing everything. Ritual is the way that our ancestors have done it for hundreds of thousands of years, right? We kind of miss out on that in our current day and age. Like even rituals such as coming of age for men and women, sure, in like Mexican culture and in Jewish culture, like they have the comings of age, right? Um, and in some cultures, they do that still, but not a lot, right? We don't really celebrate women for coming into womanhood. We don't really celebrate men for coming into manhood. We don't really celebrate waking up and being like, God damn, I just woke up. What a beautiful new day. We don't take that time to integrate what happened in dreamland or dream realm. We don't take those moments as we're transitioning out of the waking world into sleep. We've lost so many rituals, even food, right? If we order food or we're used to eating something that's processed, I like to call processed foods dead foods, right? Because they don't have nutrition in them. Sometimes they're fortified and they've had something added, but like they're dead. And then we just like eat while we're watching something and we're focused on something else. Where's the ritual? Food used to be this thing that we had to work for, that we would come into community about, that we would sit, we would talk, we would have a great time. Where's the ritual? So I love this word. This is probably my favorite word, ritual. How do we ritualize our wellness, our nutrition? How do we ritualize these moments of checking in with our bodies and being like, what do you need? How can I serve you? Remember, symptoms are how your body communicates to you. You communicate to your body through nutrition. So ritualize it. All right, so we covered a lot of ground, right? How to stop stressing about your next meal. I think we covered that pretty in depth, right? It's like we stop stressing about it by tuning into the body's real needs in this moment. When we're thinking into the future about like, oh, how's that gonna feel in my body? It's like, what is your body genuinely asking for right now? How to feel healthy and good in and about your body. We want to move through those koshas, right? When your physical body is well, the other koshas start to free up as well, but it's a sort of cycle, right? We need to go through all of the different koshas in order to feel that wholesome goodness. Body wisdom, creating rituals, finding habits and patterns that serve you at the highest level. Things like your dosha, what's going to support your dosha in this moment, understanding your human design on a much more deep level and how you digest. We covered finding your freedom, right? With food. Your freedom really comes from taking your power back. Stop outsourcing your power and really being like, no, where did I learn that? Does that belong to me? Do I believe that? What am I remembering, right? And I like to think of remembering, you're literally remembering, where those parts of us that we let go, we're like, oh, that feels really good. And we're sort of remembering ourselves. Knowing that you're nourishing yourself wholesomely. And this really just boils down to, if you're experiencing symptom, you're lacking nourishment. If you're not even thinking about it and you're just like, life's great, my digestion's great, skin's on fleek, everything's great, that's when we know we're good. It's very simple. Integrating enjoyable habits. So, again, it's like checking in with what actually feels good. And we can go deeper into this, of course, through your human design and through your dosha, and like finding what your body actually needs. And there are specific types of things that are going to support you in each of those moments. But I hope that we covered that in depth in this call. And then finally, disease prevention. So I know I mentioned those 6 stages of disease in Ayurveda. We're not going to go deep into that into this call. That could be literally an entire conversation in its own. But just understanding that until we're at that 6th stage, right, where it's like pathological and we're in full-blown acute illness, we have the power to reverse. So I like to recap always, because I think it's really important to just have like okay, now what the hell do I do? So that was a lot of information. 5 simple steps for you. Okay, just take this with you, integrate and embody this. Number 1, you are meant to feel good in and about your body, always and in all ways. Anytime that you're not feeling good in your body, anytime you're not feeling good about your body, we know that there is a better path. So step 2, what symptoms are present? Name them. Get to know them. Step number 3, which kosha is that symptom connected to? What is one action step I can take right now? Seeing as my body is trying to communicate to me right now that she needs something. Step number 4, if you desire a more long-term approach, right? What do your energetics tell you about yourself? What does your human design tell you that you've been conditioned into that doesn't belong to you? What does your human design tell you about how you are actually designed to digest? What does your dosha tell you about where you're feeling imbalanced and not balanced? How you could support your digestive system, the cornerstone of your health, right? That's how we create a more long-term plan for ourselves. And then 5, you want to integrate rituals into your existing life, right? Make sustainable shifts in the way that you're expressing your wealth of health or illness. We want to make rituals a part of our daily experience. That's how we're going to stick with it. It becomes something we really enjoy and love. So I'm going to move into an invitation, and I want to just share that I always like to offer invitations with consent. So please know that if you're here and you feel complete and you feel like you got everything that you needed, thank you for your presence. I love you and I appreciate you. And for those of you who would like to learn a little bit more, if you're willing to hear me out and would like to look at what it's like to work with me, I'm going to invite you into Holistica. My pleasure. Thank you so much for coming. So Holistica is a 21-day cleanse that I created. And this cleanse is honestly thebomb.com. What's so beautiful about this is, like I said, I have done so many cleanses in the past, and what was really missing was individuality. What was missing was the knowledge to actually impart this in a way that was for me, not in somebody else's vision. So I think we've all done this before, right? Where we go into the master cleanse or the wild rose cleanse, or we, juice fast for 5 days or whatever it is. But what I find is really challenging about that is that it takes us away from our intuition. It takes us away from what our body's actual cues are, and we stop listening. We juice fast and we're like, oh, this feels terrible. I'm having headaches and I feel nauseous and like I just want to eat food, but I won't because I'm not supposed to. Right? We do all of these things that don't necessarily feel good. And what I really wanted to do with Holistica was create a space that was empowering, that was individualistic, that was delicious, where you never felt like you were lacking anything, where you feel supported, where you have accountability, all of the things that I really felt I was missing. And no kidding, this is exactly the same work that supported me in moving from this version of myself, right? I was 60 pounds heavier than I am now. I did not value food in any kind of way. Like I was just eating anything and everything that I didn't have to create from scratch. Things that were quick, things that were, just whatever that tasted good. I was a huge fan of sweets and like cookies and cakes. I still am. I love those. I still have a sweet tooth, but like to the point where it was just I would binge eat them until I felt sick, and then I would do it again. So I was so inflamed. I was so unhappy. And this face here, it's so funny. When I look at this face, I look so sad. And at the time, I didn't know it, right? Because again, it was normal for me. I just was so used to feeling sad and not good in my body. And so what really supported me was this work that I put inside of Holistica and really healing my relationship with food to the point where when I eat, I do it with so much empowerment, so much joy. I know that what I'm putting in my body feels good and it's going to support me and it's going to nourish me. I feel so empowered in my body. I used to hate how clothes looked on me. This top that I'm wearing right here and this one over here, this is a maternity top, actually. I was 16 and I was wearing a maternity top. And this top here, oh my God, it was like a moo on me. I did not like it at all, but that was all that would fit me. So I was able to find a space in my body where I was mobile and I was able to move without feeling like I was ashamed of how I looked. So this is really, yeah, this is my baby. So I'm going to share with you a little bit about what it looks like on the inside, right? So the way that I've created Holistica is pretty awesome. Oh, there's a clicking sound. That's funny. Basically, you're going to have access to an app. So on your phone, you'll be able to go ahead and like use the app on your phone. I've created daily videos for the entire 21 days. So they're not long. Most of the videos are between 5 and 10 minutes. One of them is a little bit longer. And then you also are going to have access to an entire kitchen lab where I walk you through step by step how to create all of the meals that I've included. And not only that, you're going to have the entire grocery shopping list and menu to go along with it, as well as tips on how to modify it. Again, I never want to take your power away. So I've created a menu for ease for those of you who like structure, but I've also given guidelines and I've given you tips on how you can modify it to your taste. You're also going to have cleanse aligned yoga classes. So I think that yoga is one of the most powerful tools for me in my body for embodiment, generally speaking. And I've created some yoga aligned cleanse aligned yoga classes that are going to support you throughout the entire experience. Not to mention, also, you're going to get access to a very vibey online community space, not on Facebook. That was really important for me. I do not like Facebook groups. Every time I'm in a Facebook group, I'm like, okay, now I'm distracted. It takes me like 20 minutes just to get into the group itself. Notifications are popping up. So the whole community is off of Facebook, which is like perfect. You're also going to get access right now when you join the community one to 3 live calls with me. So these live calls are going to be 60 to 90-minute conversations where, because I created this cleanse in 2022, I wasn't yet comfortable sharing about human design. So there's not really much about human design in the cleanse yet. But with these 3 live calls, what I'm going to be doing is offering some perspective on how you can use your human design while you're cleansing, what that's going to look like for you, how you can basically modify this and turn it into an even more unique experience. What's so powerful about this and the way that I've designed this cleanse is that no one person is going to have the same experience. I really worked hard to create a space where you are going to get exactly what you need out of this cleanse, and you're going to be able to modify it and rinse and repeat it. And it's always going to serve you based on who and what you are in that moment. So there's also daily embodiment practices and rituals that you can really anchor this in an embodied way, right? Embodiment is so powerful because we can learn. But when we don't implement, we never actually make changes. Sustainability is the top of mind always with the work that I do. So I've woven in embodiment practices so you actually come out of this cleanse with new habits that are anchored in. You're going to get a couple awesome bonuses too. So I created this like plant-based encyclopedia thing for you, which is like really awesome, the Vegipedia. And this is a really, really great database so that you can understand plant-based nutrition from a very different lens. You can understand ingredients and how to use those ingredients and what they're good for and what benefits they're going to serve. And then you're also going to get the 3-day Khichdi cleanse. So again, this is where we dive even deeper into Ayurveda and the doshas and what it means to be in the doshas. And it's a very specific Ayurvedic cleanse. So that's a really great little bonus as well. So for those of you who are here listening, I would love to offer you to come into Holistica, normally to do the community vibe, right? Because I really wanted you to have access to basically doing this either as a solo adventure where you are going to be doing this at your own pace, self-paced whenever you want to. There's also an opportunity to do this with the community. We're going to start in May 2023, but I run this seasonally. And then there's also a VIP option. I wanted you to have options depending on where you are, who you are, and what you need. So right now, when you choose, because you're here, I would love to offer you also a couple of master classes included. So you would also get access to Mind Over Munchies, which is my masterclass on emotional eating and munchies and binge eating. And you're also going to get access to my upcoming masterclass, which is on superfoods and supplements. Basically learning how to eradicate your need to take a bunch of unnecessary supplements, get the most from your food and from your diet first, and use these in a way that's going to support you. So I just wanted to put that out there. You can find all of the information that you need at namatastenutrition.com/holistica. And if you wanted to get this deal, just send me a little DM and I'll send you the proper link to get access to all of those other bonuses. Basically, the prices are on the website as well. It's $111 if you're going to join for the solo adventure, $188 if you want to do the community vibe, and $333 if you also want to have a one-on-one human design reading, which is going to help you understand yourself. And that's a 90-minute reading. We're going to go so deep into your digestion through the lens of your design. It's pretty friggin' empowering and awesome. So finally, as we wrap up, I just wanted to share a few of the wins from some of my clients last year who did this cleanse with me. There were so many amazing things that came from this. And I'm not kidding when I say everyone has a very different experience because you get exactly what you need from this cleanse. Some people were experiencing weight loss, even though they didn't come into it for weight loss. It was just like, wow, my body was just releasing everything that it was holding on to. Energy levels were high the entire time. Skin feeling really, really good, digestion on fleek, calmer nervous system, right? General less anxiety, increased sense of happiness, skin feeling really, really good. The eczema that this person was experiencing virtually went away. Skin on face looking much more hydrated and really radiant. And like, it's just, there are so many amazing things that came from this cleanse. And as I was reading these, I was feeling so full and so excited because it's like, goddamn, right? Like, and I can't take credit. I literally facilitated the space, put this together, but these are real people who are simply doing something with themselves and for themselves. And this is a year ago. By the way, I have checked in with all of these people since then. I'm friends with a lot of these people as well. And all of them have managed to hold on to these patterns and to hold on to this sustainably. It's real. So I appreciate you for coming into this space. Thank you so much for being present, for your time, your attention, and your energy, and your engagement. And I hope that you received something new, something good, something supportive from this conversation today. And for those of you who have questions, I'm here. I'm open to your questions. And I'm going to stay on for just a moment to see if anyone does want to say anything or whatever it is while I drink some water. And by the way, I will be sending all of this, the recording. I'll be sending the slides after this is all finished downloading. So you're going to have access to this if ever you want to go back and catch something that you missed, or if you want to have access to the slides. And as it doesn't seem that any questions are coming through, I'm going to say thank you so much. Added a lot to the word nutrition. You're very welcome. The way you express yourself is admiring. I'm glad I started with you. Oh, your day with this call. Wonderful. Thank you for saying that. Thank you. Yeah, it's the end of my day. So I'm always happy when I can be coherent after the sun has gone down. I'm really, really glad to hear that, though. Thank you so much for that share. Yay. And if at any point more questions come through, sometimes that happens. I don't know about you, but usually it's like it takes me a moment to register. And then later the next day, I'm like, oh, now I have like 5 questions. You can reach out to me on Instagram. It's where I'm the most active. You can also email me. That's totally fine as well. Um, and go ahead and ask. I'm here, right? I'm here to support you. My absolute pleasure, Laura. Okay. I'm happy that you were able to make it. Right. All right, my loves. And for those of you who do want to see what it's like inside of Holistica, I would love to see you in there. Honestly, it's a little portal. And I am very, very excited about that portal. And so don't be shy. I'm always here for you. I love you. And I'll catch you on the flip side.